There's a new AI video competitor for Sora. NVIDIA has a huge $700 million acquisition that's going to shake up the space. And now Apple is reportedly back on good terms with OpenAI for future iPhone developments. There's a lot going on in AI news, as there is every single week. So you could spend hours a day trying to keep up, or you could spend your Mondays with us going over the AI news that matters. What's going on, y'all? My name's Jordan Wilson. I'm the host of Everyday AI. We're a daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter serving as your guide to generative AI. So, how we can all actually learn what's going on in the world, but how we can leverage it to grow our companies and to grow our careers. So, if that sounds like something you need to do or something you'd want to do, well, number one, you can join us here live every single Monday or listen on the podcast. So, if you're listening on the podcast, thanks for that as well. Make sure to check out your show notes as always. So, you can spend hours a day, or you could just hang out with us every single Monday to go over the AI news that matters. So make sure there's going to be a lot more in today's newsletter. So go to youreverydayai.com and sign up for that free daily newsletter. And hey, as a reminder, in that newsletter, you'll probably see today is the last day for our Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses giveaway. All you have to do is just check. So if you're a longtime subscriber, check Thursdays, email, newsletter, check Fridays, or if you're brand new, if you haven't signed up yet, go to youreverydayai.com, sign up now. In the welcome email, you're going to see there's going to be a link. You're going to get a unique referral link, and make sure to share that with your friends. It's super easy. Copy and paste that. You can paste it on social media, send it in an email, text it to someone. All you have to do is refer one friend to enter our giveaway. Whoever has the most referrals is going to kind of get their top pick for our prize pool. So in addition to those Meta Ray-Bans, we are going to be giving away multiple 90-minute generative AI consulting sessions. Wanted to kind of save that one for today as a little surprise. So multiple prizes to choose from. So if you haven't already, we'd appreciate you. If you find value in the show, please refer some friends and get entered into the giveaway for the Meta AI Ray-Bans. All right, so let's get it going and talk about the AI news that matters. And if you're joining us live, appreciate it. Let us know, what are the things that are mattering to you right now? What do you think about the stories? We'll throw your comments on live as we go along. So thanks everyone for, joining from Juan joining here in Chicago, like myself, to we got a Florida crew here with Victor and Rolando joining us, Dr. Harvey Castro joining us from Texas, and Jay joining us from Michigan. Thank you as always. As we go along, I'd love to get your questions, comments about the AI news that matters, but let's get right into it. And I think there's a big one here. Do we finally have our first real SORA competitor? Well, Shangshu, a Chinese company, just introduced Vidu. All right, so Shangshu AI and Tsinghua University just introduced Vidu, a text-to-video AI model. So Vidu can generate 16-second HD clips with one click, utilizing their technology, Universal Vision Transformer, or UVIT architecture. So the UVIT model integrates the diffusion and transformer AI models, showcasing scenes with detailed physical laws like light, shadow effects, and facial expressions. So the technology behind Vidu was actually proposed by its research team in September 2022, preceding SORA's model architecture. Vidu's capabilities include simulating the real physical world, generating complex dynamic shots, and understanding Chinese cultural factors. All right, so let's actually take a look live. So if you're joining us here on the live stream, we're going to play maybe about 30 to 40 seconds of this new kind of tech here. So let's go ahead, take a watch. You'll probably hear some on the podcast. You'll probably hear something. I'm not going to go too long here, but let's go ahead and take a look at this new model. Let's go ahead. So yeah, we'll make sure to include more of it in today's newsletter. So pretty good that Vidu shared about 90 seconds worth of promotional video. And you'll see this is very similar to SORA. It is not yet on the same level as SORA. And if you are brand new, or maybe you missed the what I would say is pretty groundbreaking news about in late fall, OpenAI announced their SORA model, which is you could just call it on the surface a text to video AI generator, but it's actually much more than that. I think what a lot of people are overlooking about these new kind of text to video or AI video platforms is how they can simulate the real world and what that actually means, not just for the future of artificial intelligence, but actually the future of AGI, artificial general intelligence, right? I've talked about this on the show before, was lucky enough to partner with NVIDIA and go out to their GTC conference last month. And something that no one was talking about is NVIDIA CEO mentioned SORA multiple times, unprompted, but wasn't necessarily talking about the quality of the video. He was talking about kind of its implications or the technology's implications on AGI. So it's something that, not a lot of people are talking about, but, as you can see here from the live stream, and make sure if you are on the podcast, make sure to check out the newsletter. We'll be sharing this video, but the results are pretty impressive. So these platforms right now, Vidu or Sora, are publicly available. But this might put pressure. I mean, who knows? This might put pressure on OpenAI to release Sora. It may not. But we did see, if you tune into the show a few weeks back, Adobe and OpenAI teased a collaboration which would bring Sora to Adobe's video editing suite. So presumably, some segment of the public will be receiving Sora access one way or another. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this new Chinese company, not a new company, but what this Chinese company, Shengshu, their new AI video platform, Vidu, kind of what's going to become of this. Is it going to become publicly available? If I'm being honest, and we've talked about this on the show before, I think this technology, I don't know if the world's ready for it right now, right? Because at least with images and even kind of audio, you can tell, right? And people can understand that this is very easy to be deep faked. But with video, you could see something like this, and people don't. I'd say 99% of the general population, doesn't know that this technology exists. Therefore, I think it is very easy to put out misinformation and disinformation, which is, I think, one of the reasons why OpenAI has been a little slow in getting out this technology, because I don't know if the general population is ready for it, especially before the election here in the US. So a lot more in the newsletter today on that. Like what Jay said here from our live stream. He said, this stuff is getting scary good. Yes. If you haven't seen this video already, make sure to check it out in our newsletter. All right, so let's keep on going with the AI news that matters for this week. Big one here. Speaking of NVIDIA, NVIDIA has acquired Run AI for $700 million. All right, so NVIDIA has acquired Run AI, an AI infrastructure management company, for a price tag of $700 million. So this will enhance NVIDIA's DGX cloud AI platform and give customers access to Run AI's capabilities. So this is a $700 million acquisition for NVIDIA, so not a small one by any means. And essentially, Run AI does this. It streamlines AI hardware infrastructure management. Or in other words, like the way I like to talk to it is, so many companies out there, are kind of stuck in this space right now where they're wondering, should they be investing a lot of money, sometimes millions of dollars, in hardware, right? And buying, these, NVIDIA GPU racks, right? Their new Blackwell chip or other chips, or should they rent it, right? So essentially, not to oversimplify things, but that's, you could kind of think of Run AI, and there's a lot of other companies out there that do something similar where they essentially rent compute power. So you might need a lot, this quarter, it might go down a little bit next quarter, or maybe you're just testing it to see if this is a long-term play for, your enterprise company. So pretty big acquisition here for NVIDIA. Also, Run AI already has a large customer base of Fortune 500 companies and has raised already over $118 million in capital prior to the acquisition. And you know what? This makes a lot of sense now, because about 3 weeks ago, there was reports of this. But before that, I was at the NVIDIA conference, and I was probably about 5 feet away. I was actually in a line, and I was about 5 feet away from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, posing for photos with the Run AI team. And I was like, huh, this is interesting. Why, of all companies, is he making a little photo op with the Run AI team? And now this all makes sense, right? Probably if I wasn't, doing this everyday AI thing every single day, maybe I would have done a little digging into that and, try to break a story or two. But it makes sense now why there's that kind of photo op and a lot of attention between NVIDIA and Run AI at their GTC conference. All right. Speaking of other big names in the AI space, yeah, talks. Talks are apparently back on between Apple and OpenAI for integration into Apple's next iPhone and their iOS system. So, according to a brand new report from Bloomberg, Apple is considering using OpenAI's technology for new features in the upcoming iOS 18 and iPhone. So, if you're listening and you're like, wait, have I heard this before? Yes. There is more flip flops in this story than feet on the beach. So let me tell you just a little bit right now what's been going on. So about 6 months ago, we heard reports that Apple was developing its own large language model for the future iPhone, reportedly spending more than $1 million a day in development, right? And then about a month and a half ago, we saw that there were talks between Google and OpenAI. So Apple was kind of considering either one or the other. And then right after that, we heard that Apple's probably going to be working with Google and integrating their Gemini model into future iPhones and their iOS. And then we actually heard a couple days after that, oh no, actually, Apple has a brand new large language model that they put out a research paper on. And here we are today with brand new news that, oh no, Apple and OpenAI are reportedly in talks again. So yeah, a lot of back and forth between what's happening with the next iteration. We'll find out for soon here in about 6 weeks at Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC, in the second week of June. So it should be interesting. I've said this once, I said it 100 times. Apple's never first to the party, but usually the coolest kid. So it is going to be interesting to see what their eventual generative AI plans are. Apple, obviously, one of the leaders in hardware in the entire world, with billions of devices already out there in the wild. So pretty big move for Apple here to see what they eventually kind of or how they eventually integrate large language models and generative AI into their next piece of hardware and their software. To be honest, I think that this is probably where they may end up, if I had to guess. I know that there's been a lot of hype recently, especially after some of Google's recent announcements with their Gemini model. Personally, I haven't been super impressed with Google's AI offerings. So we'll see. Apple here reportedly just going back and forth, and this could be one of those things. Hey, as a former journalist, I used to do this for, I don't know, 7 years. A lot of times, big companies will kind of put stories out there. I'm not saying this is what's happening there, but a lot of times companies will put stories out there just to kind of see what the public sentiment is, see how analysts react to the news, see what happens with their stock price. Could that be a case of this? Possibly, right? We've seen so many kind of leaks and reports over the last 3 or 4 weeks, specifically when it comes to Apple's partnership here. And to tell you the truth, it's a pretty big deal. I think it's a bigger deal than a lot of people think, because whether you look at it with Apple, whether Apple's going off on its own, whether Apple's going to be, teaming up with, Alphabet/Google, or whether Apple is going to be partnering with Microsoft-backed OpenAI, regardless, that's going to be three of the largest 5 companies here in the US, and obviously NVIDIA is going to be involved in that somehow, because they're building the chips that are powering all of these AI models. So June should be a pretty big announcement, not just for the future of technology, not just for the future of Apple, its devices, and its software, but also for the U.S. economy. Take a look at what's going to be happening in May, June, July, kind of leading up to this announcement and right after, because I do think it is going to set the U.S. economy and kind of the Magnificent Seven stocks going one way or the other. All right. I know that was a lot on that one. There's more. Speaking of AI, you got to always talk safety. So, the US government is creating a big name, star studded panel to focus on AI safety. So, the Department of Homeland Security has created an advisory panel to address the potential security threats posed by artificial intelligence to critical infrastructure. So, this new panel that was just announced includes prominent CEOs in technology, transportation, defense, and civil rights, and will focus on developing recommendations to mitigate these security risks. So, some of the big names named to this panel include OpenAI's Sam Altman, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, and many more. So, this new board is called the Artificial Intelligence Safety and Security Board. And like we said, it was established by the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security here in the US, and it aims to protect critical infrastructure from AI related disruptions, right? We've talked about it many times on the show here before, but the not just how much right now generative AI and all these companies mean to the US economy, but also on the flip side, there are foreign states and foreign bad actors now using AI to launch attacks, right? I guess cybersecurity has obviously been a huge sector impacting, so many businesses here in the US. But as generative AI becomes more and more accessible and the learning curve is lower, we talk about all of these platforms that are now being used for deep fakes, video cloning, voice cloning, etc. Security is paramount right now here in the US. So the government's defense against these potential threats may also involve using the AI technology itself, which is something we've talked about here on the show. So this some may argue though that this new kind of board it's kind of like AI regulating itself, and a lot of people are saying that maybe this could hinder advancements in the technology. Also, there are concerns about the effectiveness and potential biases of using AI to counter AI threats, which is, something that a lot of these companies have been talking about. Another thing that you should be keeping an eye on is, kind of just overall here, the US government, I've said this before, I think lawmakers here on the US are so inadequate in terms of their ability to understand this technology. So there is, whether you say fortunately or unfortunately, there is really no other way for the US government right now to start to regulate this technology, to mitigate potential risks, than to bring on some of the biggest names in the space, right? But a lot of people are saying, okay, well, so you're going to kind of police AI with the police of AI, right? Like you're going to have the people overseeing or helping oversee this technology who are creating and building the technology. So a lot of people are saying this doesn't make sense, which I understand that. But on the flip side, right now, US lawmakers have such a poor understanding. If I'm being honest, a lot of US lawmakers don't even understand the internet, which has been, mainstream for 30 years, right? So there is such a lack of understanding amongst lawmakers. So there really is, I'd say, no real hope for legislation with teeth here in the US. So the US has, I think the Biden White House has done a fairly good job. They put out an executive order regulating AI. They've been building these kind of informal groups, but now we see a formal panel along with the DHS with these the new panel here, the Artificial Intelligence Safety and Security Board. So we'll be linking to a couple of stories in the newsletter about that. So make sure you go check that out. All right. Our next piece of AI news that matters is Adobe releases Firefly 3, an image model, and it integrates it into Photoshop. All right. So Adobe has unveiled an all-new beta version of Photoshop with groundbreaking advancements in generative fill and a new Firefly image, their Firefly 3 image foundation model, allowing for greater control and creativity in image editing and bridging the gap between ideation and creation. So Adobe has unveiled these new features in the beta version of its very popular Photoshop. So we have new features like reference image, generate similar, generate background, and enhance detail in the latest Photoshop beta release. So what is kind of new here is seeing this kind of rolled out across all different platforms. So if you're joining us here on the live stream, I kind of have a screenshot of Adobe's website here. So not just text to image, which they've had in Firefly, but some updates and some new capabilities in generative fill and generative expand. So being able to very easily, just highlight something on an existing photo or in an AI image or in an AI generated photo, and to change anything that you highlight with text commands, which I think is pretty cool. You also have generative fill and text in Adobe Express. And then also bringing these new AI capabilities into Adobe's other pieces of software, such as Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, and just really all across Adobe's platforms. So pretty big news here. And if you haven't checked this out, we talked about this on the show last week with the new Firefly 3. So definitely some huge advancements in this new model. And I will say right now, Firefly 3 is probably about on par with OpenAI's DALL-E, but it's not quite as good as Midjourney or the Stable Diffusion text to photo models. However, for the most part, Adobe has been building their models in a, reportedly much more ethical way, just trained on, for the most part, they say about 95% has been trained on sources that it has access to. So a lot of these other models, reportedly Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and some others are just training on the open internet. So there's a lot of copyright questions around some of these, kind of text to image models, whereas Adobe has taken maybe the slower approach, but probably a little more methodical and a little safer and a little more heavy lean into the ethics side. So even though right now this brand new Firefly 3 is not quite on par, with Midjourney's version 6, with the new Stable Diffusion XL models, it has gone about it in a probably a little bit more ethical way. All right, so there's going to be a lot more in the newsletter about that today as well. And hey, like a comment here coming from our live stream audience, AI safety is a great point. Yes, it has to be because there's going to be, I've talked about this here on the show before. 2024, you're going to see it. There's going to be a big domino falling. Eventually we're going to hear something from this, the big OpenAI versus New York Times lawsuit, or I should say the New York Times versus OpenAI lawsuit. The New York Times has sued OpenAI and Microsoft for reportedly using millions of its pieces of copyrighted material to train its GPT model. So I do think there will probably be a settlement in there at some point. I don't see this going to court, but that's the the big domino that's going to fall. And then I think we're going to be talking a lot more on IP, right? On intellectual property, on, the conversation at that point, I think is going to explode on, oh, we've been using these models now for a year, whether you're talking, DALL-E or Midjourney or Firefly, right? So many people have been using all of these different generative AIs, models out in the wild now and publicly and commercially now for, a year plus. And I think once that big domino falls, we're going to have the conversation of, okay, how should we be ethically using this? Are we safe to use this? And a lot of the big companies have provided some kind of copyright protection saying, hey, if you use this and you do get in trouble for whatever reason, we are going to back you. So, at least at certain levels, especially if you're using the enterprise version of the product. So Firefly, again, I think has separated itself with a much different approach than some of the other kind of text to photo AI generators. All right. I think we have our last story of the day for AI news that matters. Meta has updated its Ray-Ban partnership to include multimodal input. So along with its new Llama 3 model updates, so yeah, Meta's had a busy week. So along with the new Llama 3 model that is now open for people to go use, Meta has also added some new AI capabilities to its flagship hardware device, which is in partnership with Ray-Ban. So the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses now have multimodal inputs, which essentially, I think, makes it a very useful piece of hardware for identifying anything that you may be looking at. So we'll put the link in today's newsletter. But essentially, if you're wearing these new Meta Ray-Bans, you can talk to them and say, "Hey, Meta, what am I looking at?" And it will say, "Hey, you are looking at." Maybe you're looking at something in another language, and you can say, "Hey, Meta, what am I looking at, and what does it mean?" And it will translate it. You could be looking at a historical, site. Maybe you are traveling and using these, or maybe who knows? Maybe you're looking at a train sign, and you're like, "Hey, I'm not sure which train this is." So essentially, tapping into Llama 3, but the new multimodal aspect of the Meta Ray-Ban glasses allows it to see and understand and decipher different images that you are looking at, in real time through the Meta glasses. So essentially, it snaps a picture. It kind of does all of its smart processing on the back end using some kind of vision and computer vision, AI technology, to put it very simply. And it tells you, "Hey, here's what's going on the front end." So pretty cool update there from Meta. And hey, speaking of that, as we wrap up today's show on the AI news that matters, hey, if that sounds cool, those Meta Ray-Ban glasses, well, we're giving them away, right? So our giveaway was to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of Everyday AI. We had our 1 year anniversary show a couple of days ago. So the contest ends today. That is right. It ends today. So if you haven't already, make sure you can, if you're already a newsletter subscriber, you can check out today's newsletter or Thursdays, Fridays. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure to go do this now. Okay. It takes about 30 seconds to enter the contest. Super simple. All you have to do is go sign up for the newsletter. You'll get a welcome email. You'll have a unique referral link. All you got to do is copy that link, send it to your friends, send it to them in a text, send it to, someone in an email, post it on social media, whatever you want to do. But today is the last day to enter. Our contest ends at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. So if you're listening or watching this and it is still Monday, April 29th, it is not too late. All you have to do is refer one friend to enter. The person with the most referrals gets their pick of the prize pool. Presumably, someone's going to be picking these Meta Ray-Ban glasses, but maybe not, because our other kind of prizes include, we are doing two 90-minute generative AI consults with myself, and our team's going to be working on that as well. So 3 total prizes. Whoever has the most referrals gets to pick their prize of choice, and then the other 2 will be random. So if you get the most referrals, you get your shot at whatever you want, and all you have to do is have one referral to enter the contest. So make sure you go do that. So go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter, go grab your referral code, and hey, thank you for joining us for going over the AI news that matters. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.